Hello everyone, thank you so much for staying with us till the very end. I promise that your patience will be rewarded, and why I'm sure about that is because of the panel discussion that we put together for you. So starting with the essence, I would like to welcome on stage our great panelists, starting with Madame Maria-Manuela Catrina, State Secretary, Ministry of Communication and Informational Society from Romanian government. Hello, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us here.
Madame Dr. Ludmila Georgieva, Public Policy and Government Relations Manager from Google, Belgium. Hello, welcome on stage. Next, Mr. Pearse O'Donoghue, Director of Future Networks Directorate, DG Connect European Commission. Hello, sir. Thank you for joining us. And last but not least, Minister Karol Okoński, Secretary of State, Governmental Plenipotentiary for Cybersecurity, Polish Ministry of Digital Affairs. Thank you so much. Welcome. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the panel on the digital cooperation between three CIS countries. Before we will jump into the discussion, please let me bring you closer to the general idea of what the three CIS cooperation is and what we will be talking while mentioning the digital pillar of the cooperation. So, in general, the three CIS initiative is a political and economic intergovernmental project developed and launched by the Polish President, Mr. Andrzej Duda, and also the President of Croatia, Madame Kitarowicz. It was launched in 2016, and it was oriented to boost cooperation between the countries which are located between three seas, meaning Baltic, Adriatic, and the Baltic Sea. The idea was to focus on three pillars mainly: digital, transport, and energy sectors. By enhancing cooperation between the countries, we wanted also to make sure that the countries will be more valuable members of the European Union. The other goal was also to enhance cooperation between the region and between the United States. And while at the beginning at least the two pillars, meaning energy and transport, were rather well developed, we noticed that the third one, the digital one, was at least till recently quite underdeveloped in comparison to the others. Because, for example, within the transport sector, Via Carpathia project has been launched. In the energy sector, the North-South gas corridor was developed, but we truly lacked something really meaningful when it comes to the digital area of cooperation. So the Kosciuszko Institute, together with the partners, meaning Globsec from Slovakia, New Strategy Center from Romania, and IRMO from Croatia, we decided to launch a project which was called Digital Three Seas, in order to little bit boost cooperation within the three pillar of this political and economic concept. So there are two main goals when it comes to our proposal. First of all, we would like to maybe a little bit more enhance cooperation in the digital pillar, but we would like to also make sure that cybersecurity will be a foundation for two remaining pillars, meaning energy and transport. So in order to achieve those goals, we proposed several various projects, and one of the most important out of them was something which is called Digital Three Seas Highway, which is basically idea for developing a secure digital infrastructure running from north to south, connecting member states which are cooperating under the umbrella of the Three Seas. The Digital Three Seas highway will be composed of two elements: fiber optics along with the additional technologies which will hopefully help us to create this 5G connection between the countries. Even though the Kosciuszko Institute inspired the idea, The true success came later because Ministry of Digital Affairs, together with Chancellery of the President of Republic of Poland, officially submitted this project, and it was officially accepted during the Freezes Summit in Bucharest in 2018. So now the project is on the official list of priority interconnection projects, and hopefully we will discuss today the next steps that will be taken in order to implement this concept. But I would like to stress that for us, this secure digital infrastructure is only the first step. We believe that this is something that will allow us to implement further digital projects that will help us to build digital economies and data-driven industries within the region. And I mean, like today we have this excellent panel that will enable us to discuss those ideas in more details, especially that, I mean, we do have representative of Poland, country that launched the initiative. We have representative of Romania, not only a key member of the project, but also country that currently runs the presidency of the Council of European Union. We have representative of the European Commission, so I'm hoping to hear how our regional project can help to build general European approach towards digital single market and our digital endeavors. And of course, we have digital champion Google, who will help us to understand how the private sector looks at those actions. So I think that we are ready to start, and maybe if I can start with Minister Okoński, sir, why it's even needed to have this regional cooperation on cybersecurity, and how can we put it in motion?
Yes, so I'll start with first of all with stressing the fact that it is true that it was thanks to the actions of Institute of Kosciuszko, also some other countries, and the digital, let's say, departments of or ministers of other countries to make sure that this initiative, 3Cs, will not remain without this digital component. Because in the end, what is important is that some of the investments in the typical infrastructure, meaning like roads, railroads, can definitely be linked with investments in the fiber optic, in the connectivity, and it was extremely important to make sure that if we go into one type of investments, we'll not lose the chance of at the same time bringing actually the connectivity, meaning not only in the standard way, but also let's say the future aspect and the potential that lies underneath. At the same time, creating the environment and the basis actually for some other areas that can be then exploited and we can make the best use of. And then, like you mentioned, like if we take, for instance, the standard highways that will just link the north with south in the region, at the same time will provide with the fiber optic and also with all the set of sensors that in the end will allow us to, for example, start testing the autonomous vehicles and some other also collection of data, analysis of data. Definitely, will give additional boost to the whole region, and will make sure that that there will be no that the whole region might be also considered the avant-garde of what is actually now important when you speak about the potential and the advantages of also for investments in a given country. But then speaking about the IoT, speaking about the connectivity, of course, what comes then to force and what has to be taken into account is of course cybersecurity. And then it gives this another aspect of, so by providing the new possibility in terms of infrastructure, at the same time you have to, add the cybersecurity component, and then by adding the cybersecurity component, at the same time you have to build the whole, say, process and the whole organization of then providing the right solutions, and then if we make the project for connectivity and for some testing beds, then at the same time we can also add some research projects that are specifically concentrate on cybersecurity, and again, which gives then another boost to the IT market, to the cybersecurity market in those countries, that can also, in terms of public-private partnerships, provide some new projects. So I would say it's like like one initiative actually adds some value, and then gives some another boost to another few initiatives. So in the end, you create the whole momentum in the region. I think this is important. So not to concentrate on one single project, but look at it as kind of a inspiration, but another some kind of a drive. Then it can actually help the whole region and both the IT markets, the research market in all of those countries. Specifically, looking at the perspective, the potential of each country alone, it's definitely not in terms of the data that is needed for the testing, in terms of the competency, it will not be enough to provide the solution, the cutting-edge technology that we might want to produce in Europe, but only by then joining forces, you come up with both the structure, and the resources, and then the scale that will be enough to provide something that might transform into new companies, some IP rights, and actually in the wealth of the nations that actually that come like as a consequence. So I would definitely say this digital factor in the Free Seas initiative would be considered exactly as a starting point for some other initiatives that in the end will actually help benefit the whole region, and in the end, of course, both the citizens and the companies. And keeping this broad perspective is, I think, very important. So not to try to look at those projects as some kind of a proof of concept that are separated or isolated, but definitely as a way of actually helping the whole region grow, and then the specific markets with the specific capabilities also to become stronger and stronger.
Thank you so much for that. Once again, I would like to stress it very strongly that for us, the infrastructure is only the beginning. And we will speak about the digital revolution that hopefully will take place within our region later on. But I would like to turn to Minister Catrina. Could you please share your thoughts on the possibilities of cooperation within the area of cybersecurity among the Free Seas countries?
First of all, I want to thank you, the Kaczynski Institute, and I also want to thank your partners in Romania, the New Strategy Center, who are the digital voice on the Three Seas initiative in Romania. So I think it's important to have this type of actors getting us all together to discuss and to push forward for projects. I was listening to Minister Okoński, and I think having a digital highway is important. And having digital crossing all the other fields, being energy and transportation, we also have the chance not only to build them digital by design, but also to build them secure by design. Or I would rather say a little bit more like secure as a mindset. That means that we would have the chance to put the cybersecurity component in these projects from the beginning. Because we cannot think about any application that has something to do with energy that doesn't have a very relevant component that is cybersecurity. Maybe it's not seen for everybody, but it's there. So working together on building infrastructure is one step. It's a relevant step. I think it's also important to work together on building on delivering services for our companies and our citizens that use this infrastructure. And the fastest, the projects that are going to be delivered on the Three Seas initiatives, the fastest are the digital ones that are maybe happening in a short time, costing maybe not as much as a whole infrastructure at once. And I think our citizens need success stories in order to get in love again and again on one project and take the hard work to build this type of big via Carpathia, via this type of big projects. So what we see is also what we put in Bucharest, propose in Bucharest, are projects that are maybe faster delivering in a very complementary way with the infrastructure, trying to show the citizens and the businesses that there is relevant added value on these initiatives for them. And it's important to work together on this. It's being a project involving environment, involving transport, I mean, if you have a rain, it doesn't stop on the border. It will flood. The floods will flood from one end of the area to another, and it's maybe good having the sensors to know this. I will just wrap up saying that getting back to cybersecurity and to the Romanian presidency that it's ongoing. Cybersecurity for us is one of the main priorities. Actually, digital is very high on the agenda, and on the digital agenda, cybersecurity is on the first place, together with innovation and skills. And last but not least, and I'm happy to have 2 colleagues, women in tech. So I'm looking forward to the debate today on what we can do together on digital transformation.
Thank you for those remarks, and definitely we also believe that digital components should be strongly correlated with the transport and energy projects. Let's maybe take a look from the perspective of private sector, if I may. Ludmila, can I ask you, like, what do you think about those endeavors and those projects being undertaken at the regional level in the area of cybersecurity?
Good afternoon, everybody, and first of all, thank you very much also for this invitation and for the very, very interesting conference today. I think it was an amazing day full of insights. For Google, we believe in the power of digitalization, in the power of innovation and technology, and definitely we also believe in the power of the what CE can be the digital challenger. I would refer to this term. There was a survey by McKinsey where McKinsey actually calculated that if the CE and the collaboration, if the CE countries will collaborate together, then there is a potential of 200 additional billion GDP till 2025. And I think this is an amazing amount. So for us, we are definitely very supportive, and we really are dedicated and committed to support the digitalization activities in the CE sector. For us, we have, for example, the initiative Google for Growth, where we have, for example, since 2015, together with our local partners, NGOs and ministries in the CE sector, we have trained over 500,000 people. We have created opportunities for career changes and for business for over 150,000 people. So I think this is where we are really trying to empower people and to give how we can contribute. I think also our office in Warsaw is one of the biggest one with over 400 people. So I think there is a definitely dedicated approach to this one. And we're also very happy to be invited in this panel so that the private sector also have a voice here. What we can do, having a background or my past in the national administration, I know that government sometimes can be thinking in very silos. And I think this is what we are definitely seeing the opportunity in the 3 Cs initiative, where countries can work together, should work together. So on the one side, business and government, but also the governments among themselves. I think this is where you were talking about digital infrastructure, the highway we need to provide services and to our products and to enable people to create their startups and businesses. So definitely whenever we can, I always ask what we can do for you. So whenever government and commission have something for us, we're open, our doors always open.
Thank you so much. We will have a chance to ask the similar question to the governmental side, because I would like to also know how governments can help to maybe boost the activities provided by the private sector as well. Nevertheless, I would like to turn now to Mr. O'Donoghue, because like the The whole idea behind the digital free seas is to strengthen the region, so we will be stronger part of the European Union, and we will help to boost digital single market. And we had a chance to discuss digital free seas highway in Bucharest because you were a member of the panel back then, so you know a little bit more about the concept. And I would like to ask you, what is your opinion on the digital free seas highway? And the second part of my question may be a little bit tougher. What about future EU budget? Can we maybe use the money to put this idea into something real and concrete?
Well, thank you very much, and it's great to speak once again on this issue, having been in Bucharest for the last discussion. Let me say, first of all, I think it's a pity that some of the cybersecurity junkies have left the room for this session, because this is where they will actually hear about a real large-scale attempt to roll out massive digital infrastructures with the cybersecurity element first and foremost in mind, as has already been explained. So it's a missed opportunity for some people. It's a great opportunity for me and for the European Commission to answer your questions and to show that we are very much involved. The last time when we spoke the first time, I remember just challenging the audience to remember that it's not so much what can the EU do for the 3Cs initiative, but what will the 3Cs initiative do for the EU? And you've already asked me that question, which is great. In other words, nearly half of the EU member states working together on what are regional projects, regional cross-border cooperation projects. It's exactly what we need in order to actually fulfill the EU objectives with regard to digital transformation, the rollout of the digital infrastructures, and of course then all of the things that come through that, including digital skills, as was mentioned, equality, the development of rural areas and rural communities, and so on. So a long number of very important policy and strategic objectives that we have that are actually going to be unlocked and realized, we hope, through these digital highways, through the digital infrastructure. So of course, we have to be realistic about the investment gap. It is about money. And in order for the EU to achieve its objectives and to ensure the balance and the solidarity that we need, where the whole of the European economy, all parts of the economy and society are actually benefiting from these technologies, but also able to contribute to transformation, then we have to look at what targeted financial instruments we have. So just let me take an example. We don't even have to wait until the next multi-annual financial framework. We have, under the existing Connecting Europe framework, we've just had in late 2018 a call specifically for connected and autonomous mobility projects with a cybersecurity angle to them. And those are projects which we hope to identify this year and to start financing. But certainly under the proposals made by the Commission, we've identified a number of instruments, some of which can be blended together, that will address specifically the infrastructure and investment gaps to tackle issues in transport and in energy, such as you have also identified, but also and particularly from my perspective, digital. And I like what I've heard as well by the fact that, of course, an energy project has to be digital now, otherwise there's no point in doing it. A transport project has to be digital, otherwise there's no point in doing it. So digital runs across all three themes of the 3Cs. And specifically then we have under the new CEF proposals, we will have projects specifically for cross-border 5G corridors, which will bring together work on transport infrastructure, but bringing together then new modern communications technologies which will allow autonomous driving, seamless communications throughout a transport path, whether it's from north to south or from east to west. And of course the same for smart energy technologies with power grids and power networks that are actually operating on a regional basis and are not again divided into national basis. We have the Digital Euro program, and I will stop after that because I could keep listing them, and we hope that everyone does have access to all the information. But the Digital Euro program, thanks to the Romanian presidency, has been the first of the many proposals by the Commission under the multi-annual financial framework to actually reach political agreement between the Council and Parliament. So we're very excited about that. It means that we can start planning with the Member States and with private partners already as to how this might manifest itself. But here we have, we will have projects which focus on high performance computing, on cybersecurity and on artificial intelligence, and critically, separately, on digital skills. And then we'll have an overarching fifth theme, which will be in relation to government projects and transformation. And it strikes me that a lot of what you have been talking about and doing in the 3Cs initiative will actually will tick many of those boxes. It's not just a box ticking exercise, but it will actually mean that they are highly relevant to Digital Europe programme funding for many reasons. So now, of course, the tough bit comes later for the presidency, which is actually negotiating the money. So we hope that all 12 member states associated with the 3Cs initiative will actually recognise that they have the final say in saying how much money goes into the CEF, how much money goes into the DEP, which can actually then concretely finance the projects that we're talking about.
We will come back to the subject related to the budget, but I would like to take a step back, because as I said, the Digital 3Cs Highway is now on the list of priority projects, and I would like to ask Minister Okoński if we can just identify where are we when it comes to the implementation of the project. Where are we now? What are the next steps?
Yeah, it is, as everyone can imagine, it's not very easy, but it's considerably easy to declare a project start and then to have the intentions set out, and now comes the real job, real life of actually implementing what has been, let's say, decided or proposed. And I would still say it's still in the organizational phase in the way that I think, and that is something what we are speaking about in Poland, but we also need to expand it also on other states. For this project to be successful, we need to have a commercial partner selected actually in each and every country, especially the telecom operators either selected in some way of open market process in each country, or selected by the state or actually pointed to as a state-owned company if it comes, for example, as an option. So of course, every country can have here the same, their own approach and in the way how to select their partner, the business partner for implementing for actually laying out the fiber optic and the operator. Of course, the ideal, if it comes for the cybersecurity, of course, the ideal would be to have some kind of a consortium that can actually coordinate the work together. But I still imagine that every country can do it on their own, but make sure that it's the schedule of the work is synchronized, and that the standards, the cybersecurity requirements are just set out at the very beginning, so that they are fulfilled throughout the whole digital highway. And this is, let's say, from the perspective of let's say the cooperation between the operators. But then, of course, if we say it has to be coordinated with the sheer infrastructure project in terms of railways and roads, then again it has to be coordinated with the ministries of infrastructure in the corresponding states. That there are some talks now currently in Poland that we have actually, let's say, on a conceptual base, we have agreed that definitely the work will be combined together. We have to make sure that this kind of let's say synchronization of works between the digital part and the infrastructure part has been taking place in other states. I cannot say now for now. It was the declaration, so I hope it's it's going. But definitely, if you would take the milestone, the first milestone would be to make sure that in each and every country, the synchronization of schedules between the infrastructure and the digital part is done, and then we have the partners selected, and then we might have the rollout plan that will actually allow us to to foresee the speed of the implementation of the project. So so taking all this into account, there is some work going on in respective countries, but there has not been a concrete, specific roadmap for now built that will actually allow us to say at what time frame the project will actually bring the tangible results. So I would say both some more activity needed on the side of the government,
Yep.
but also on the side not only in the digital but also in the first infrastructure part. But also there would be also my my request, I would say, also to the commercial side. Definitely also some more activity on their side of the partners who would be willing to join and become the one that will be the final operator. It's also needed on their part.
So the message has been conveyed. Please, private sector, join us to make it happen. And
Join us and mobilize us, yes.
okay, you can count also on the third sector to do so.
Definitely.
Coming back to Minister Catrina, what about the presidency? Can you help to boost the project, harmonize activities across the different countries, or maybe some other ideas?
Actually, I think the presidency is per se in the first 3 months very, very busy. So I don't say any secret. I think each and everyone knows that. So, but events like today would give us a necessary energy push to put more effort in mobilizing this type of projects. I think we are just in the beginning of discussing this digital highway. I think the digital will be the engine to push the highway in the direction, because I'm very confident that together we will move quite faster on this area. From the presidency side, I think we did the start of the job closing the Digital Europe program. So there is something on the table now that has a more concrete form that it was a month ago. So in small steps, but fast, we move forward.
Okay, thank you so much. So now I would like to move to the second part of our debate and speak a little bit more about the digital transformation. The topic was already mentioned by Mrs. Georgieva, and actually I would like to say that a few months ago the Kosciuszko Institute released a quite comprehensive report on the digital state of play within the region, and most of the conclusions that we provided are in line with the ones included in the report prepared by McKinsey, the one that you mentioned. And like the basic and the main message is that the digital revolution can serve as a growth engine for the growth of the economy within the region. And my question to you is, can you elaborate more on where are we when it comes to the digital transformation? And the second part of the question, which technologies might increase our regional competitiveness?
Thank you for the. It's quite a difficult question, but I'll try still to, from an academic approach, to answer it. First of all, because maybe beforehand, talking about money and talking about what the private sector can do, our CEO Sundar announced in the CE Innovation Roundtable exactly 3 weeks ago that Google will additionally add 20 million for till 2020, so 20 till 2020, in programs and training. So this is where we can think we can contribute definitely and also push the digital transformation. I think from the point of view of the CE being also having Bulgarian roots, so it's know a bit of the surrounding we have. The CE has actually very good factor. So there are like, for example, you have in CE sector you have a very good education. So in the primary, secondary school, it's nearly the same like in the Scandinavian digital frontrunners, if you want to use this word. You have there is over 230,000 graduates from I think 2016-17 in ICT and STEM academic field. So this is really a great potential. There is a great infrastructure, 4G, and which is very important, very affordable also for citizens. You have also, I think, compared to the Western Europe, not this kind of a legacy of technology. So there is here we had two very high-level Estonians in the panels before, talking about the Estonian also way, so where they actually skipped the 90s, where the Western Europe had now to catch up with Estonia, for example, because they just start from the very zero into the digital transformation. So I think these are very good actually elements where you can start and build on. You have, for example, I love numbers, as you see. You had from the 96 till now over 114% of digital growth, GDP in CE sector. So I think, and the momentum is now or never. And the question is where, and I think this collaborative culture which the 3Cs, this digital 3Cs is promoting, is exactly, as Pearse said, very important, the way you can contribute to the whole region and to the whole sector. So I think this is when you ask me where we stand now, digital transformation, it's a good start, but you have to act now, and you have to act together. So I think this is the way where, and again, business, government, governments among themselves, the member states, but also, of course, it's a private-public partnership, if you may call it like this, because we can contribute from one part, but we need, of course, in order to build digital services and products, we need the engineers, we need the creativity, we need the innovators. So without having a great educational system in place, it's not possible. Without having a government which will empower digital tools for business, for startups, but also for e-government, it's not possible.
Yeah, I mean, we already discussed this topic in Krakow during our main event, Cybersec, and actually I remember very vividly that Mr. John Frank said, I mean, to some extent technology already exists, but we need to know which problems should be solved by implementing it. And so this is, I mean, in my opinion, a broader question about the directions of the digital transformation. And with this question, I would like to come back to Minister Okoński and ask you, I mean, which problems would you like to see being solved by technologies within our region? And like, which particular sectors can be the drivers for the whole digital revolution?
Mm-hmm.
I think, you know, it will be very, very much hard, I think, to pick up a sector or industry, industry sector that does not actually have the very, very much extended, you know, digital component. So I think that's why also we have to consider that, you know, knowing that digital became so important in those sectors, of course, then the cybersecurity comes to place where it has to be the right standards and the right and appropriate level to keep the continuity of service, to keep the right level of service. And of course then, you know, we might have, you know, one of the guidelines probably what I would take is that for all the sectors that we actually mentioned, the NIS directive being the critical, the essential ones for the continuity of service of public, you know, all the public services, so being the energy, the health sector, the financial sector, the transportation sector, and definitely in all those sectors, what is important is to make sure that we keep the on both sides, on the side of the producers and on the side of the consumers, the citizens, the right level of, you know, I would say the competences now. So on the side of the producers, of course, making sure that based on the legislation, but based on the market needs and expectations of the ones who actually have money and purchase the products, have the right level of quality and and making sure that also are you know, fulfill the appropriate standards that are for given sector. Here, then again, there might be specific standards, and I think that's probably looking forward. That will be also the way also to structure this. There might be some specific standards for specific applications than for specific sectors. So you might have a certain security levels on security requirements, for example, for energy sector, for the sensors in energy sector, for the sensors that you put on the roads for the autonomous vehicles, and then you can have another specific requirements for the appliances that you use to collect data that you pass then to your to your doctor, so they can make some evaluations on distance. So definitely, definitely I would say let's call to simplify it, the certification profiles. I would say certification schemes. I think they will have to be much more specialized, because the scope of the application will become so vast that the common applications for the electronic devices will be just not good enough I'll be either too strict, or I'll be or not strict enough for the specific purpose. So definitely, I think the certification area, this is something that will definitely develop in time, because in the end, on the side of the ones who purchase the products, they will definitely lack the competences to assess the products on their own. So the way forward to do it is to make sure that there are some industry standards that can actually let them just say, if I buy the products who fulfills the given standards, I have at least, in my risk assessment, I would say, I will at least have the right approach. And will not be forced to have very specific skills on my side as the one who's, let's say, who's doing some specific business operations, would not force them to have some specific IT department to assess the products. Definitely, it should be much more centralized in the way that we have some industry standards that can be fulfilled. And I think in this way, and the Cybersecurity Act also, I think it's another perspective to this, because if you want to market, to grow and to develop, we have to have the right capacity actually to allow the certification process to be continued and to be to adapt to the needs of the market. So here the cooperation, and again here we look back on the Free Seas initiative as one of the factors to this, the cooperation between the states here and the cross-regional certification of the states actually accepting the certification process or laboratories in given between each other. This is the only way actually to make sure that we can keep up with the certification capacity of the laboratories and of the certification bodies that will be able to provide the schemes that actually then will be expected by the entities who purchase the product. So, and I think again, this brings also the ideas with another legislation act is currently being discussed, the network of competence centers for the cybersecurity, which again, having some specific skills within different states or between different regions, again makes it possible to again have the necessary capacity to fulfill the expectations, because in the end, in order to keep the right levels of cybersecurity, we have to make sure that it actually keeps up with also the time and the expectations of the short time to market frame, because in the end, this is what the given industry will expect from us, or from the producers. So, in the end, we create kind of ecosystem, but in which every component of this, the producers, the consumers, and the certification bodies have to be balanced, because otherwise this ecosystem will just not work.
Yeah, thank you so much also for linking the Free Seas possible scope of cooperation with the general projects being undertaken at the EU level. And maybe if I may ask Mr. O'Donoghue, actually I would like to come back to the previous question that I just asked about the wish list of the problems that could be solved by the new technologies. Like, from the perspective of the European Commission, what would you like to see in our part of Europe? Like, which technology is being applied, solving problems that you would like to see being solved?
Well, I don't think the Commission's wish list, if I even admit to having one, is very different wherever you go in Europe. But what we would like to see is certainly is projects which stimulate the uptake of digital technologies in all sectors. So, and we also have to be realistic. There isn't a bottomless fund of money. We have to create the conditions in which the private sector will be incentivized to come in, in which there will actually be market demand. So we have to make sure that they're realistic. And Commission officials are never the best people to decide what is the future of any market. So we actually want the market to have a very strong role in dictating to us. Where we do see a role, and where I therefore would try to answer your question is, for example, in particular in the highways, in the highway initiatives, the digital highway or physical transport infrastructure, the cross-border segments, particularly with the 5G element, are going to be crucial. One, because it prevents siloed or national-based solutions. You have to think in terms of the region, which obviously this initiative is geared to doing, so that you have seamless cross-border logistics, transport, and of course an uninterrupted and equally high level of cybersecurity associated with the digital infrastructures, if you have the level of cooperation that we want to see. So if you take these cross-border segments, and we start with the Via Baltica, starting with the 3 Baltic states, and then Lithuania, which has now an understanding with Poland, and then we come down to the Via Carpatica, and we go across all the way to the east coast of Romania, and we just join up the dots, then of course the member states involved will have to do quite a bit of work for what would be the interior corridors. But once there are these connecting links, then you hopefully create a critical mass where private sector is actually incentivized to come in and invest, because they then see a real market opportunity. And that means that whether it's from manufacturing and logistics through to take my vice president's pet subject, farming, if we help and even subsidize in some cases the rollout of fibre along these transport routes, it means that you actually have fibre going through in some cases, relatively low populated rural areas that still are significantly involved in agriculture. And it is very easy to run spur lines off that fibre, and suddenly you can have very high-tech IoT-based technologies assisting in farming, whether it's the vice president's cows or whichever is the sort of the comparative advantage in agriculture that any one of the 12 countries has. But it will create this snowball effect. The technology will be available, and then the business case will be identified by not by us, the officials, but by those who can actually avail of the technologies. So that's what not only do we see our role, but that's where we see the wish list being identified. Our wish list is digital transformation. That's the end result. Our wish to achieve that is digital technologies, and then by helping to provide that, providing the regulatory as well as the financial support to that, then the member states, the economies, and the private sector will actually fill in the rest.
Thank you for saying that. And Ludmila already mentioned that the expectation coming from the private sector, how to boost this digital revolution, is to help to solve the problems with the shortage of talents. So this is one of the ideas, right? But a question to Minister Catrina: do you have any other maybe proposals? How can public sector contribute to this goal that we would like to achieve?
Actually, I will start getting back to the first question about digital transformation. I want to add something on that topic. Actually, I wouldn't say digital revolution just because in our part of the word revolution means something that is not necessarily constructive. It's rather disruptive, and you need a lot of time. We're still working on it to fix the things after. So I will get to digital transformation, and I would say, being in a tech area, that I strongly believe that digital transformation is about transformation and not about digital. Digital is just the instrument of it. And think this out of the transformation part of the process, we can see that there are three, let's say, not necessarily obstacles, but three points of view to taken. First of all is that if you ask the director of SMEs, at least, I wouldn't say citizens, director of SMEs in Europe, if they like to take part of the digital transformation, I think 3 out of 4 will say yes. We start tomorrow. But thinking that it's about transformation, transformation is not easy even for the people that want to transform. So the one that doesn't say yes, I take a side anyway, but the 3 that want to transform, it's a let's say a hard process even for them. So if because it's late and people are already kind of tired, I would say if I want to lose weight, I know that I would need to lose 10 pounds of weight in the next year. I agree, I want to do that, but it takes a lot of effort, and I know that it takes a lot of effort to go to sport, to eat healthy, and so on and so forth. So the transformation don't happen in the moment that I decide I want to transform. So this is a lot of work, even from the NGO sides, to convince, to keep the people motivated in this transformation. This, let's say, transformation trainers. And also, it's a transformation in our governmental side, and also in a business side. Doesn't happen from. It's a war in going. You don't shut your systems today, and tomorrow you have a new one. You have to transform yourself, having the old process still going, because the business is as usual every day. And what we sometimes miss when we speak about digital transformation is that we don't need only infrastructure and platforms, like digital platforms. We are tech geeks, most of us, and we like to speak about that. But actually, there are 3 other pillars that we are sometimes more important than the technical pillar that we miss, and they come first. It's the people, it's the processes, it's the policies, and then the infrastructure and the platforms. So we speak about infrastructure platforms, we speak sometimes about policies, and we work a lot with the Commission, and we work a lot in the 3 initiative format and so on. We don't speak so much about the processes in our companies or in our government, and don't forget that the governments in that we work were designed 200 years ago under a totally different technological framework, and we don't speak about the people as much. We speak about skills, but we also have to speak about mindset, even if it's taken into account that we are in a cybersecurity conference. Mindset is also important for cybersecurity. So getting back to the sectors, if I would bet on 2 out of 3, I would bet on health, just because we are an aging population area in Europe, so we need to find solutions technologically, be it EI, be it something else, in order to have our citizens healthy and working as much as possible, in a very let's say a happy life for a longer time. And also I will bet on agriculture, also from the cybersecurity point of view, because imagining that you have systems that can say to you how much wind is in the direction that the wind is blowing, so you don't need to fertilize the field, or the diseases are not coming to you. Also, you can track the antibiotics that were delivered to the piece of meat that you eat on the table. And Europe does a very good job in securing this, ensuring this food chain and the food security chain. And here, digital transformation could help a lot. I wouldn't speak about fiber because I think we also have here other solutions, also European. We have a satellite, we have radio. So sometimes remote areas can be covered in this way for various applications, at least for agriculture, not necessarily for I don't know 4G for streaming movies on the telephone. This is not happening via satellite, but at least reading a sensor that says if it's raining or not, you can do, and you can do it cheaper maybe. And Europe does a great job in this. Speaking about collaboration with the public-private sector, I think we cannot go further without it. But I listened to Ludmila saying that your door is open. I hope only the front door, not the back door. This is a question that it's not only for you. When somebody says, "Oh, your door is open," hopefully not the back door. So yes, that's a good point. And last but not least, not everybody will transform in the same moment of time, and we have to accept it. We'll have champions in various regions of Europe, and it's good to have them. And we need role models, and sometimes even if somebody is a little bit later, it doesn't mean that he cannot leapfrog at one technology and deliver the surprises tomorrow. It's what happens with Estonia, as you mentioned. It's what happened in Romania with the telecom industry, where we skip copper. So suddenly we have one of the fastest internet in the world because we have fiber. So this type of experience happens.
Yeah, definitely leapfrogging might have some beneficial side effects, also in terms of security. Okay, I can see that the clock is getting red, which means that we are coming to the end of the session, but I would like to ask the audience whether you have any questions to our panel.
I told the people are tired.
Okay, the mic is coming.
Thank you very much, Joanna. Congratulations for this panel, for holding these special guests and speakers, and congrats for Kosciuszko Institute to have this panel. I'm one of the lucky ones to have the chance to contribute to the Digital 3Cs initiative report, and having seen your enthusiasm regarding this initiative, I have a question for Minister Okoński. What are, frankly speaking, your expectancies following the Romanian presidency in terms of the Digital 3Cs initiative? Let me present myself. I'm Iulian Popa, New Strategy Center, Romania. Thank you and congrats again.
Thank you so much.
Well, I think, yes, I think we briefly talked about this. I mean, it's like definitely, you know, the presidency and the coordination of work between the states is crucial here, but each country also knows, you know, their environment, their potential, their risks also best. So, regardless of the fact who will be, let's say, the leader of initiative, we definitely need also the buy-in and also the owners of this initiative in each and single country, and you know, in all 3Cs initiatives. So. I think for the success of the project would be make sure that this initiative, which will last for years, because we will not be able to build this digital highway, you know, in a few months' time, is to make sure that this initiative becomes, let's say, apolitical. Will be able something that will be the political consensus to keep it going and alive and actually thriving for the next years to come. And that we have the contact point and an owner of this initiative, also regardless of the political changes that will appear in each country, because, you know, there will be elections coming, and with 4 years to come, and also in every state that is a member of the FRIS initiative. What I can say from my side, I think also for part of the presidency of Romania presidency. We would very much like to see this also initiative coming from other states. What we'll be doing, we'll be trying to stir it up a bit, but definitely, and also this may be also some again request or maybe comment on for the third sector. Definitely some more push from the third sector in each country, and from the NGOs that work there, that specialize in digital topics, for making sure that this topic is kept alive and is as important agenda in each single country, will definitely help us to make sure that this initiative can transform into and move, let's say, to this operational phase, which in the end now took some time, and I do admit, you know, the momentum is probably not as big as we expected from, you know, at the beginning of actually initiating the whole declaration. So, yeah.
Okay, so do we have any other questions?
May I add
Of course.
to what my Polish colleague said about the Romanian presidency and 3Cs initiative? I would say The whole Romanian presidency is built around cohesion as a common European value, and 3Cs initiative is actually a project that can enforce that and show that in a very practical way. And as I said in the beginning, we have 3 very busy legislative months, but we also will have the chance to have maybe a time in that we can think about the future, the next 5 years of Europe. And we'll take this time in order to organize a lot of debates and to work together with our European colleagues and imagine what's coming next, if it's about technology, if it's about financing, if it's about regional initiatives, I don't know, if it's about other subjects. Just next week on the 1st of March, we'll have in Bucharest informal TTA Council, in that we speak about the future of the digital single market, how all the European countries see it for the next time, and also the future of AI in the telecom format, and about data, because what was maybe not mentioned as much in this discussion is that we need free flow of data in order to build scalable projects about artificial intelligence, and also to build cybersecurity solutions that benefit us all.
Thank you so much for those additional comments. I would like to conclude maybe by supporting voice coming from Minister Okoński, that we are also hoping that the 3Cs initiative in general and the digital 3Cs initiative in particular will be a long-lasting initiative, I mean, disattached from political possible changes. And we are hoping that, I mean, just to inform you, we are, I believe, very close to the creation of the Digital 3Cs Investment Fund, which would hopefully help also a part of the EU money to put some projects, into practice. And we are hoping that by showing some concrete steps, we will be able to show the true potential of the whole initiative. Thank you so much. Thank you to our thanks to our panelists. Please join me in giving a round of warm applause to them.